Welcome back, everyone. So my name is Parker Moss. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer, and I'm so delighted to host our commercial partners from biopharma back to the 7th Discovery Forum. Now, this was a forum that we used to run regularly in person. It was a great networking event. It was a great way of us sharing our insights with the community, and it was also a really great opportunity for feedback from all of you. Now, in March 2020, something happened. The world paused, and we thought, well, we're going to pause these discovery forums until we can host the next one in person. And then the pause went on, and it went on. And by popular demand, we're back, because company by company, all of our engagement partners started saying to us, when's the next discovery forum? We want to hear what you're up to. So this is our response. We have a very small studio audience, but we're delighted that we have hundreds of participants dialing in from around the world to join us today. But we will be back in person, so we're looking forward already to the Discovery Forum 8, where we're going to bring you in person and do this with food and drinks and real interaction. Now, for now, let me go through a few things to describe what we've been up to at Genomics England, and I'm going to start really with our commercial purpose, because we get asked this question a lot. Why do we work with biopharma? Why do we engage with the commercial sector? And we have real clarity on this. So the first thing to do is to introduce you to a concept of really the key endpoint of what we're trying to achieve in research, and that is clinical return on data. We want to make the most of all of the clinical and genomic data that our participants have so generously donated into the National Genomic Research Library. So who is that return going to? And there are three constituents that are important and that are important in this order. So the first people to talk about are our participants. We are an organisation which is participant-led. We exist by permission and at the pleasure of our participants, and these are some of our population's most vulnerable people with severe cancers, parents with children with rare disease, and we're every day humbled and grateful to their participation and their donation of their samples and their consent to engage with us. And what we are trying to achieve for our participants is very simple. People with cancer and rare disease, they want better therapeutics, more on-target drugs with lower toxicity and higher efficacy. And the way that we can achieve that is making sure that their data is getting to the people that manufacture drugs, that design drugs, and that are increasingly moving the whole sector of healthcare and life sciences into the era of precision medicine. The second constituency that we're really focused on is the NHS, and we want to make sure that our engagement with the biopharma sector has a direct return to the NHS. Of course, the NHS is highly aligned with the interests of patients, and they also want to see accurate diagnostics and the optimal treatment regimens for our patients. But they also have massive productivity concerns to worry about. And for those of you who have read the recent New England Journal of Medicine paper that just came out on rare disease, you will have noted the staggering diagnostic odyssey that rare disease patients typically go through. So a rare disease patient today would typically have 75 outpatient appointments and over a period of over 67 outpatient appointments over a period of 75 months, and that's costing tens of thousands of pounds per patient to the NHS. And what we want to do is cut through that diagnostic odyssey and get to a specific and sensitive diagnosis upfront on the basis of a whole genome sequence. So that's the second constituency that we're really focused on. And the third constituency is the UK PLC itself. So there's been a lot of discussion in the press recently about the UK life sciences strategy and our ambition to remain and become an even greater life sciences superpower. And the key to doing that is attracting the leading life sciences companies to invest in drug discovery, R&D in the country, and also to run clinical trials in the UK, which benefits our participants. We want to maximize clinical trial participation. And one of the ways we can do that is making sure that the data from patients in the NHS are surfaced and structured and available for research. And not just the data itself. I'll talk later about how important it is that our population is a recallable resource, recallable for clinical trials, but also recallable for sample access so that samples can get used in functional genomic pipelines, which are an increasingly large part of the discovery process in life sciences. So Chris mentioned a few minutes ago about this transition from project to platform. That has been a real major theme of Genomics England's journey over the last couple of years. So between 2012 and 2018-19, we were really head down focused on delivering the 100,000 genome project, which had a clear endpoint of maximizing diagnostic yield in the NHS, but also ensuring that we could deliver a scalable whole genome sequencing platform at a national scale. And since we finished the curation of that data set, we of course will continue to support the participants in that project for the rest of their lives. But since that data set curation was completed, we stepped back and we paused and we put a lot of thought into what the next phase of our journey would be. And there's a healthcare story. You're going to hear in a section later today about the NHS Genomic Medicine Service and how we are supporting them in delivering whole genome sequence-based diagnostics into cancer and rare disease. But today we're going to be talking a lot about the other part of our story, which is our research story. And very simply, we have an ambition to be the best genomic research platform for cancer and rare disease research in the world. And we're doing a lot of work to optimize our operating model and to make sure that we understand the needs of our customers and really deliver an asset which can work for anyone doing biomedical research, from startups through to small biotechs through to the giant tier 1 pharma companies. And I'm really proud to say that 8 of the top 10 pharma companies in the world by market cap are using our data today. So here are a few of the things that we've done in the last few years, and we're on a journey to improve things every day. And one of the purposes of this session today is to get feedback from all of you. So this is where we've got to so far, and please keep giving us input. You've been very generous, and I'm grateful to our pharma partners who have been interviewed by us as we're trying to gather insight into your specific needs. So we're trying to create a uniquely integrated technology platform through which we surface genomic and clinical longitudinal data to support your research needs. One of the things we've done, and you'll be hearing from LifeBit later, is we've changed our research platform. We've moved all of our data into Amazon Web Services, and we've integrated a really terrific and highly immersive bioinformatics platform run by a British company called LifeBit. And LifeBit provides just contemporary bioinformatic workflows that allow you to work with Jupyter notebooks, federate data across Amazon S3 buckets. It allows you to do your analysis through browsers. You can containerize applications. You can bring in your own data and work in private working spaces. So we've really thought hard about how we can improve the experience of researchers who are getting their hands dirty with our data. But the quality of the platform is not enough. We've also been working very hard on the quality of the clinical data itself. And in the last 18 months, we've done a lot to enrich our clinical data set. We've integrated with disease registries, including the cancer registry in the UK, which has brought in tens of millions of additional data points so that we now have, for example, full cancer regimen data, full text pathology and radiology data. We have all of the HES data set, which is a bit like the billing data in America, which gives you kind of longitudinal detail about admissions and discharges and diagnosis codes. So a really extensive clinical data set. And what we're doing culturally within the partnership development team is really focusing on shifting our model from just providing access to that data for our research partners to providing insights. And I'll tell you a little bit later about how we're moving up that access to insight curve. So we think that we have one of the greatest data assets in cancer and rare disease research, but it's not just about data. We have samples as well, and importantly, our participants have consented to be recalled for sample access and recruitment. And that's an incredibly important part in the discovery journey. As pharma companies move from animal models, rodent models with mice and rats towards human tissue models, we increasingly need human samples of kind of exquisitely annotated disease subgroups so that those tissue models can go into iPSCs and organoids for CRISPR knockout workflows to really validate that the associations that you discover from our genomic data is actually causal. So that's another key part of our data asset. And then it's important to think of us not just as a library of data, but we're also a community of expertise. And we have a wonderful external community of research expertise. We have over 4,000 academics engaged in our data. We've broken them down into disease groups. These are some of the leading clinical academics in the UK and around the world. And the UK academics were in particular the people that in many cases recruited the patients into the 100,000 Genome Project. So it's fantastic if you want to collaborate with those academics to be able to speak to clinicians who are not just experts in research of the data, but often know the patients themselves and can really talk to you about the heterogeneity of the data set in detail. It's a real benefit if you're building machine learning models, for example. So those are our external experts. We also have a huge resource of internal expertise, and we do a lot of analysis, and we have a pipeline of data products that we're bringing to bear to really give researchers a head start when you're using our data set. And for example, we are producing variant allele frequency tables for partners to use. We've aggregated all of our germline into a massive, I think the world's largest whole genome sequencing variant aggregate file, so that you can quickly cluster germline data by and search for deleteriousness and pathogenicity, run GWASs and PWASs efficiently. So that really makes research easier. And in cancer, we've pre-calculated tumor mutational burden and mutational signatures across all of the cancers. So those are some of the activities that we're putting into place to really become a great enabling platform for all types of researchers. I'm not going to talk through all of this slide, but I wanted to make the point that we are really working across the entire value chain for pharma. We do a lot of work in target identification. So as I mentioned, we have quite an exquisitely annotated data set. We've linked to all of the key genomic data sets, so ClinVar and Ensemble variant prioritizer. We've integrated with the population genomic data sets like Nomad, for example. We have Lofty for looking at loss of function variants. We have epigenetic data sets like Splice AI integrated. So for people who want to do target identification, we can really provide a lot of value there. But also we're working with supporting people who want to go beyond identification to target validation by providing those samples for you so that you can work in your wet labs with our samples and really confirm these associations are drivers. As you would expect, we work in clinical development with biomarker discovery a lot. We particularly interested in helping patient stratification for more advanced clinical trial design. We work a lot developing surrogate endpoints for partners, which shortens and reduces the cost of clinical trials. And increasingly, we're engaging in post-market as well, post-launch. So it's wonderful that we can identify targets in rare disease, for example, but how helpful to look through our HES data set and be able to go back all the way to the 1980s to see how those pathogenic targets generate rare disease and pathogenicity in the real world. We work across a very wide range of users in pharma, and we're sensitive to the very different needs and depth of experience and also resource that the user groups have. So we work with bioinformaticians, computational biologists, but we also work with therapeutic leaders. We work a lot with genomic leaders, and we're sensitive that you have different attention spans and different levels of willingness to get involved in our data. So we can provide you a self-service opportunity to engage at patient-level data, but also we can support you with research that we do in-house on your behalf, and I'll tell you a little bit about that model in a minute. Here are just a few very brief success stories of the kind of things that have happened just in the last 18 months in the way that we've supported our commercial partners. So in discovery, there was a wonderful UK use case, a US biotech who was very deeply engaging in ovarian cancer research, had developed their own AI ML models on an in-house data set, which was very high quality, but small and potentially suffering from the risk of overfitting. This company was able to not only validate their response to treatment and prognostic models on our in-house data, but also actually successfully identified some new genetic insights, which did lead to a successful new discovery program for them. In clinical development, we were really excited recently that one of our partners out in Asia actually, through diagnostic discovery process, identified 3 children who had very rare CMVs and had been in our data set for over 4 years without a diagnosis. This team in Asia, so on the other side of the world, successfully diagnosed those patients. We checked the validity and the accuracy of those diagnoses, and since then we were able to return those diagnoses back to the participants, and it looks like there may be therapeutic opportunities for those patients, and the parents are having that discussed with them right at the moment, so it was very thrilling. And in post-market, one of the large tier 1 pharma companies did a massive investment in melanoma research recently. They were really trying to understand some of the common confounders and real-world evidence, and we organised for them to collaborate with our melanoma academic community. And 10 hospitals participated in that, and we organised research nurses to go deep into the clinical records and pull out some exotic missing factors in the data like UV exposure, which really led to a better kind of biological understanding that improved clinical trial design for them in the future. So these are just some very brief examples of the kind of things that we're doing. As we've engaged more and more with pharma partners, got deeper into your pipelines and deeper into your specific needs, the clear message that has come back to Genomics England is that you require a lot of flexibility and engagement. And so we're changing our operating model and our engagement model of how we engage with pharma partners. And I'll be speaking with each of you individually about this, but I just wanted to briefly explain the way that we plan to work with all of our partners in the coming years. So first of all, we're going to make it very much easier for all of our pharma partners to explore our data at scale. Today we already have a data showcase which goes down to phenotypic level, but in the coming months we'll be adding a genotypic filter to that as well, so that any pharma partner can look at aggregate data across our entire data set and very quickly do a feasibility study to see if we have the types of patients that you need to conduct a much more deeper and patient level research. So if you want to ask questions like, for example, do we have any breast cancer patients who are ER positive and PIK3CA negative, that's the type of question that we will make broadly available to the entire enterprise in pharma. The discovery level of access is what we offer today, and this is largely a self-service model. We're working hard on making sure that our training material and our documentation is excellent, and we encourage partners with well-developed and well-resourced bioinformatic teams to come in and explore the data on their own, and we'll provide you support where you need it with good training. But we're also introducing 2 new engagement models with pharma, which I think are going to really make a difference in shifting us from an access model to an insight model. So the co-create model is where we would set up a dedicated bioinformatics team to really co-create research on your behalf. We will do projects for you, we'll run monthly workshops, and we will really provide the types of analysis that your in-house bioinformaticians would like to do today and perhaps don't have the time. We recognize that there's a high activation energy to get up to speed on our data model, and we're going to help you do that. And the final model, which we're only going to be able to really offer to a few engagement partners, we're engaging with our first one today, and we perhaps have one more place for this year, is an alliance model where we're going to be doing extensive prospective research with our partners, not just bioinformatic research, but addressing biological questions and providing biological answers, not just in our retrospective data set, but prospectively. And we'll work with our partners in the National Institute of Health Research to recruit prospectively. We'll be recontacting patients at scale if you need samples out of the NHS. And this is really a dedicated R&D collaboration that we hope will generate much deeper insights from our data. Now, as we move from left to right on this, there'll be a much greater commitment from us, and there'll be a need for a much greater commercial and financial commitment from our commercial partners. And we think that's going to really make a difference in getting this return on clinical data for all of the constituents that I mentioned. So let's get started. It's easy to get started with Genomics England. We'll work with you to explore our data and make sure that you can scope out your projects. Our project governance has really improved in the last couple of years. From the point of submitting a study design, it takes a couple of weeks to get that approved, and then you can get started choosing the service level that you want to engage with Genomics England with, and let's get some great science done and generate that clinical return on data that we're so hoping we can provide for our participants, for the NHS, and for UK PLC. Thank you very much.